And we're live. What's up, friends? Live on a Monday. This is always weird, just talking by myself for maybe an hour. I don't know. I don't know how long this is going to be, but wanted to come on and do a live and talk about a few things. Number one, I want to do a market update. So give you an idea of where the Denver real estate market is. I want to start with that. So if people are still hopping on, we can get that going and sort of give you an idea of what's going on if you're buying or selling, because it is a little different from what we may have expected in late April here. And additionally, as you saw on the title still or the title itself, I want to talk about the real estate commission lawsuit settlement, which seems to be the hot item of conversation. I get asked about it all the time, and I haven't done a video about it because my video is not really, or my channel is not really about that type of thing. It's really about Denver and moving in Denver, living in Denver, and then sometimes Denver real estate. But my clients and friends do keep asking me about that and kind of what it means, my thoughts on it. There's a lot of information about it, some misinformation. And so I wanted to just give you my thoughts. This is not a, you always see on Instagram, like, people have been asking what my leggings are. They're this brand. No one was asking. They're just trying to promote a brand to get a sponsorship deal. I don't fault them, but that's not what this is. I don't get a sponsorship deal from the class action settlement or the National Association of Realtors or anyone. Unfortunately, it would be cool if I did. But no, people have actually been asking me, so I'm going to talk about it. I sort of avoided it because I didn't know how many people cared. But it seems like people care or just want to know how things will change, and they will change a little bit, but not in any sort of crazy way. At least that's my assumption. But I want to go through why it's happening, what it means, who is involved, where, etc. No, just give you the ideas give you my thoughts, because I do have a fair amount of thoughts on that, and I am messing with the lighting in here and everything else as usual, what it looks like we're going. By the way, the thing is, if you are hopping on or have just hopped on or are going to hop on throughout this process, as I mentioned off the top, when it's just me talking, that can be a little verbose and unnecessary. So what I do want with these lives, the reason to go live is to have an interactive. So ideally, I want to eventually have a situation where part of the YouTube live is just me answering questions. And I can go through comments and answer questions too. But if you have a comment and you want to comment on this live recording, that would be great. Love to answer that question. It can be about Denver. It can be about the topic we're talking about today, the market. It can be about restaurants. It can be about anything. It can be about the dispatch, which we are bringing back. We did 10 episodes. It's a ton of work. And I kind of said, all right, 10 episodes, we're hitting pause. But I love doing it. And I found out that people actually enjoy watching it too. And it's one of my favorite things to do. So we got 4 dispatch shoots scheduled in the month of May, the next month coming up. So we're shooting 2 places at Union Station this Thursday, Altrea and Stoic and Genuine. Shout out Bryant Palmer for hooking that up. And those are great restaurants, Jen Jasinski restaurants. I've been to both of them, but I've never done a video on either. Can't wait. Going to be awesome. We are doing later in the month the Museum of Illusions, which I was not familiar with, but it's on 16th Street Mall. But it does seem cool. It's a cool museum of different sort of audio visual illusions. It looks really cool. I think it'll make great video. We are also doing, sorry, I'm getting a call. Handley, I don't know if you're watching. I'm live. We're also doing Restaurant Olivia. Great Italian restaurant, small place in Wash Park. Been once. It was awesome. Handmade pasta, the whole deal. That is the type of thing I wanted to do when I started this program. So we are going to do that. And then we have a restaurant at Coors Field. We're doing a shoot at a Rockies game and going to feature a barbecue restaurant there, which just opened up a new branch, a new location at Coors Field. That one could go a lot of different ways, and I'm really looking forward to it. A lot of times, Swanson and I just show up and we have an idea. I don't know that I don't have a script written, but maybe I'll have questions written, and then we just see where the day takes us. And at a Rockies game, that's how I like to approach it anyway. And so I'm very much looking forward to that. So starting with just a market update, I'm just going to give you a one slider here of what's going on. But basically, this is Megan Aller's weekly. So these are weekly stats. She updates every week. This is from last week. This is the most recent stats. Really the main thing, by the way, if I do that, can you, yeah. The main thing here, does that help or hurt? That helps. Let's keep it. The main thing here, although that actually hurts me, sorry, is this black bar. So this is month supply of inventory. This gives us an idea of how hot the market is, because the lower supply, the more likely we are to have multiple offers. Buyer demand wobbles a little bit, but it's not going away. There's a lot of pent up buyer demand from the last few years, buyers that weren't able to get in the market who still want to. Ton of demand. That's not changing. It does change a little bit with interest rates. Interest rates have risen the last 3 weeks. So we've seen buyer demand level off a little bit, which is why supply has come up a little bit. And so there's also a few other things going on, but basically you're seeing, I mean, this is 2021 and 2022. These were the springs of both those years where these black bars really, really low and the inventory drops below, I mean, half a month of inventory at some point. That was crazy. That's when there's bidding wars. 1 month of inventory is kind of the line of demarcation from multiple offers. So you see, this is the spring of 2023. We were underneath that for a time. We were getting multiple offers, not on every home, but for homes in good locations, well presented, staged, priced well, multiple offers were happening. That happened a little bit this spring. We saw that in March, and we'll still see it some. But what you're seeing here is right now we are at 1.3 months supply of inventory. So that has ticked up a little bit. And we're seeing the upward trend here in late April and into May. The heat of the selling season is really February, but let's say March through May. So we're a little bit more than halfway through that. And it did not drop below 1 month consistently like we saw in 2023. That's something that was projected to happen this year. That did not happen this year. And so what you're seeing, interest rates are playing a part in it. And it's been really weird and snowy. And the thought is just that those weekends deter people from going out to look at houses. They deter people from listing houses. You'll see our new listings are actually down week over week. They're still up 13% over a year ago, but they're down week over week. Fewer new listings, but inventory is rising, just meaning fewer homes are being sold. More of them are sticking on the market. So we'll see what happens. I mean, we got Mother's Day weekend coming up. I have 2 listings going live next weekend. There should still be more inventory coming to the market, but maybe not at the speed we expected, and maybe not the frenzy of buyer activity we expected. It might just be a little more level and relaxed. At least that's how it's been so far compared to 2023. And initially we thought 2023 and 24 were supposed to kind of mirror each other. So far, that has not happened. So that means, yeah, there's more opportunities for buyers. Now, that comes with a 7.5% interest rate, probably, which sucks. So that's always the pick your poison. The worse interest rates are, the more inventory, the more choices there are going to be on the market, the more opportunity there's going to be for seller concessions and interest rate buy downs and that sort of thing. So we'll see what happens. I still expect May to be a strong time for the market. There still should be a fair amount of homes sold. If you're a seller, you got to get your house on the market right now, or within the next 2 weeks, really. Otherwise, timing the market, people say don't do it. But the reality is this is the best time to sell a home right now, unless you wait until next year, which some people do as well. If you're a buyer, I still think there's going to be a sweet spot right around June. I think June, it will be that area where there's still enough inventory on the market, but buyer activity has dropped off a little bit more from where it has even now. And there'll be just a good opportunity for you to get a home at a reasonable price, whatever reasonable means anymore. 4th of July is another line of demarcation. That's when people stop listing largely. Obviously, there's still listings that come on through the end of the year, but 4th of July, people are into summer mode. People are into barbecues and looking towards the school year. So activity drops off quite a bit there, but there's still going to be enough to happen. If you need to sell your house in that time, there's still a strategy to do it. If you need to buy in that time, there's still going to be plenty of homes to buy. I mean, inventory is going to go way up. You saw what happened last year. We went up to 2.5 months of supply. It'll probably go up higher based on the numbers we're seeing so far this year. That doesn't mean there's more homes to choose from. It means there's more homes on the market, but in a strong selling season like this, there's more houses being listed. They're just being snatched up right away. So speed is something that's important in a market like, well, definitely 2022, but 2023, and still this spring market in 2024, speed will become less important as a buyer the longer we go into the year. That can be a good and a bad thing for a buyer. There can be paralysis analysis, as it were. And I've seen people leave good deals on the table because they're trying to get more. They feel like they should be getting more. And then a deal passes them by and they don't end up getting the house they want or a house at all. So the key is finding that sweet spot of where that is. And coming back here, if you're just jumping on, by the way, would love to answer questions. I'm going to make that part of live streams, the questions. But if you have a question about Denver, about what we're talking about really anything, restaurants, I love talking about, just type it in and I'll answer, type it in the chat box and I'll answer it at some point. I think there's a way to pull them up and so I can show it on the screen. Usually I just read them, but I'm learning. You can teach an oldish dog new tricks. So that's the state of the market. That's where we're at right now. Not as hot as it was projected to be here in the spring of 2023, but still hot. It's still going to be a situation until at least June where and forever, there's going to be situations where there are multiple offers, but it's going to be more prevalent at least through May until June for properties, like I mentioned before, that are priced well, in good locations, presented well, staged, all those sorts of things. There's still an opportunity to find yourself in a multiple offer situation. I wouldn't call it a bidding war. Some people say bidding war anytime there's more than one offer. Bidding wars to me are what we saw back here. That's 10 offers, 15 offers, 20 offers, $100,000 over asking price, appraisal gaps, all this BS that hopefully we don't have to deal with as much anymore. So that is the state of the market. Now, the topic of the day, the real estate lawsuit settlement. So this here is an AP article that says it upends decades long, I didn't know that was one word, policies that helped set agent commissions. This is the most that I've seen. This is the article, it's the Associated Press. So it's the most accurate that I've seen so far. We'll go over it a little bit and I'll tell you what's going on. There are some other articles that are less accurate and are kind of hilarious because they're not even true in the headline. And that is a funny thing that we'll talk about. And it is not a surprise when it happens because I know it happens, but when it happens in your industry or something that actually affects you, it feels weird. It's silly. And so, yeah, I'm not going to rail on about anything, but I'll give you my thoughts. So first of all, what's going on with this lawsuit? A real quick catch up. Basically, there was a lawsuit in Missouri, class action lawsuit, huge, where it was all about seller commissions and what who is paying what. So if you know, the way real estate commissions work usually is the seller will pay both the buyer's agent and the listing agent. Not always. Nothing has ever been always or everything, but that's typically how it's gone. There was a lawsuit that basically said, hey, the consumer, alleged that we didn't know the sellers were paying both the buyer's agent commission and the seller's agent commission. That's where the lawsuit started. Ooh, I have a comment. Tech Adventure, what's up? Okay, let me see here, show. I'll get back to that. Yeah, okay, that worked. Just want to pick your brain real quick. What's the sweet spot for home prices looking like in the Denver suburbs these days? And there's a follow-up here. Curious about the current scenario and any predictions you might have for later in the summer for home prices. Yeah. So in the Denver metro, so that includes all 7 counties, so everywhere basically up to Boulder, but not Boulder. The median home price is about $645,000. And that, in the city of Denver, it's more like 700,000. That is for single family homes. For condos, it's like 450,000. It's way, way lower. And I got a video on that coming up. So that is the entire 7 county area. So I'd say that's a pretty indicative number for suburbs. Some of them are more expensive than the city of Denver. Some of them are less expensive than the city of Denver. It just depends, but $600,000 to $700,000, yes, is a sweet spot. Under 5, it's going to be a fixer upper. 5 to 6, it's probably going to be small. You could find some remodeled homes that are small, but 500 to 600,000. Between 6 and 7 is kind of a sweet spot. And then 7 up to 8, you're going to get some more of those high-end finishes and premium features, if you will. You said curious about the current scenario and any predictions you may have for later in the summer for home prices. Yeah, they're going to level out and probably come down from, I mentioned this a little bit earlier in the stream, but they should come down from June until the end of the year, really. That doesn't mean prices will drop, because we look at home prices on a year-over-year basis, because that adjusts for seasonality, right? But they should come down. That's usually what happens. They go up, up, up until somewhere in June, maybe July, and then they come down. The spring has been a little weaker than we expected in terms of price growth and activity, but I still think June is really a sweet spot for buyers, where there's going to be enough inventory on the market to have something to choose from. And that's not just been sitting there for 6 months since it's whatever. There's a reason it's not selling. And also there are fewer buyers out. There'll still be buyers out, but buyer demand is going to drop off a little bit the more we get into summer. And so it should be a sweet spot where there's less competition, still competition, but less, and still enough homes to choose from. I wouldn't necessarily wait till November, December, even though, like I said, prices typically keep on coming down until the new year, because there's not going to be anything to choose from. And it's totally dependent on your situation and, what timing looks like for you. But June, July really is a sweet spot for me. I'd start looking now if I were you, and get your ducks in a row, pre-approval, all that stuff, and get ready to go. But I do think that there's going to be an opportunity. Suburbs is I'm talking in broad strokes here, because suburbs can mean a number of things. But yeah, that is what I'd expect. Some suburbs are still very hot, foothills and some of the more outer ring Western suburbs. Then you have the Auroras, the Centennials, that are much cooler and much more palatable in terms of price growth and what you got to do to get in there. So I could follow up in a bit, but hopefully that helps. Like I said, so the real estate commission lawsuit, basically, there was a class action that sued every real estate company and the National Association of Realtors, NAR, based on these predatory practices that said, hey, I didn't know as the seller I was paying both the buyer's agent and the listing agent. That, a few things. Number one, that they were awarded, the plaintiffs won that case, which, in my opinion, there were a few things that happened there that shouldn't have happened as far as what the defense did. A lot of them fall on NAR, the National Association of Realtors. I could go on about that, but I won't bore you. That is an advocacy group it's really a lobbying group for real estate professionals like myself, who has failed the industry in many ways. And this is one of them. And so anyway, two things on that. They were awarded. Yes, the judges found that, yes, you were misled. And I think in many ways they were. The two things are, number one, okay, the consumer was always signing an agreement that stated what commission they were paying and who they were paying it to. So it was always in there at some point, some juncture. It was in something they signed. Now, have I signed a document that I didn't read all the way through? Yes. The other part of this is, there's a lot of shisty real estate agents out there. And there's a lot of people who I'm sure were intentionally misleading about what they were paying, who they were paying, and why they were paying it. Even now, even beyond buyer's agent commission and seller's agent commission, you should see some of the fees that people put into listing agreements that mean nothing. Nothing. They're just here's an extra $700 fee. Here's an extra 1% fee for record keeping and all this other stuff that we pay for anyway. And people will work them into contracts. Now, if it's, I personally don't agree with it, because I get a percentage of the home sale price. That's my commission. That covers everything when I'm listing a home. That covers marketing. That covers my insurance. That covers what I have to pay my broker. That covers blah, 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 everything. That covers record keeping and digital, whatever these people are making up for these fees. But if that's something you want to do as a professional, and you're explaining it and you're being upfront about it, well, that is your right to do. And it's the consumer's right to say yes or no about that. But the important part is that the consumer, of course, is educated on this. And part of our job as a real estate agent, which is just an advisor and a consultant through this process, is to make sure the client is educated, whether that's good for us or not, because we have a fiduciary duty. Once we sign a listing agreement, which means anything we do has to be in the client's best interest. That's on the list side or on the buy side. Now, before that listing agreement is signed, technically we don't have it because there's no agency, but ethically still, I don't think it's a big stretch to say you should still have an advisory educational role in what you're doing, because it's the right thing to do. And it's going to be better for you, the professional, in the long term. I've lost listings before, more than once, because I told the truth. And that's not because I'm awesome and I'm some great, whatever. No, it's just because if I'm not telling the truth is going to come out at some point. So it's going to come out between the seller and between me, and we're going to have to deal with it at some point. We might as well deal with it up front. And if that means I don't get the listing because I told them, no, your house is not worth $800,000, it's worth $675,000. Well, so be it. That wasn't a situation that was going to work out for anybody. So that's the situation there. That's what's going on with this lawsuit. Now there's just been a settlement, basically, because there was a lawsuit. Like I said, the plaintiffs won. The judges found that yes, these real estate companies and realtors and NAR were all in the wrong. And so then, of course, like any lawsuit, it gets tied up in appeals for years. So finally, there was a settlement that just everyone came to an agreement for a payout to make this go away. So there was a payout of $400 some odd million. And beyond that, there were some changes in the way agency works, especially buyer's agency. Let me show you one of these hilarious articles that I was talking about before. This is from CNN. Oh, who has a pop-up here? No thanks, CNN Business. I don't need that. The title of the article, the 6% commission on buying or selling a home is gone after Realtors Association agrees to seismic settlement. That is not true at all. The 6% commission is what most people think of. And the 6%, the reason we talk about it that way is that's typically, not typically, but many times what's split between a listing agent and a buyer's agent. And it's not even those agents, it's split between their companies and then dispersed to those agents, however their agreement sees fit. But the 6% commission is not gone. 6% commission was never a standard like it's often said it was. It wasn't. It was common. It's still very common. It's not the most common. Most common is somewhere between 5 and 6% total nationally. But that was never set. That was never a standard. That was always negotiable. And again, it's up to the real estate agent to educate people on the fact that that's negotiable, at least if they're being good at their job. But I will tell you, I've never walked into a listing appointment and had the seller say, okay, well, I know it's 6%, so where do I sign? Every time the seller has at the very least asked questions about what commission is and why it is that way, or negotiated on the commission. And that is what happens. That's what's always happened. Like I said, it was a very common arrangement for that 6% to be split between both sides. This article, though, saying that it's gone is not true. That's still happening all over the country, 6% split between both sides. I have no doubt that it will continue to happen after July, when all this stuff goes into account. So let's look at the AP article a little bit, because it's more accurate. So they basically, powerful real estate trade group has agreed to do away with policies for decades that help set agent commissions, moving to resolve lawsuits. So here's what's going to go on. Yeah, $418 million to the plaintiffs. So most of that's going to, it's a huge class action lawsuit. So people are going to get checks for nothing. And then the attorneys will get paid, which is how it works. This is, yes, unfairly propped up agent commissions. That's what I explained before. The rules also incentivize agents representing buyers to avoid showing their clients listings where the seller's broker was offering a lower commission to the buyer's agent. They argued. I don't know if that's true or not. But here's what's happening. Here's what's different. As part of the settlement, the NAR agreed to no longer require a broker advising a home for sale on the MLS to offer any upfront compensation to the buyer's agent. This is number one of the two things that are actually fundamentally changing, or will. Assume this still has to be approved by the DOJ, but if it is, this is what's going to change. So in the past and currently, if you list a property in the MLS, you list what compensation, what it's called cooperative compensation, your seller is offering to the buyer's agent. So like I said, typically that's usually the listing agent gets a little more. Oftentimes you see 3.2% to the listing agent, 2.8% to the buyer's agent. Sometimes it can be as low as 2.5% to the buyer's agent. Sometimes you'll see it much lower than that. Not super common, but you do see it. That went on the MLS. That still goes on the MLS right now. So if you're a buyer's agent, That's it. You don't have to negotiate for your fee from the seller because it's being offered on the MLS. If you do the deal, you just get that. Now, there have been situations in the past in which agents like myself, like any agent who works a fair amount at least, has had to negotiate their buyer's agent compensation themselves. For example, a for sale by owner, a home that's not listed on the MLS, so there's no offer of cooperative compensation. You negotiate what you're going to be paid and who's going to pay it. And typically when that's happened, it's happened to me a few times. I've said, okay, here's what I do in the transaction. Here's my value. Here's what I'm going to do. Seller, this is how much I make. This is my fee. This is what we're offering. It's part of the deal. And typically they say, okay. I mean, sometimes they'll negotiate on it. I've actually never had that because those are different situations where honestly, I'm doing kind of both jobs as the buyer's agent still. So, but the point being, you've had to, if you've done any work for any amount of time at all, at some point negotiate your own buyer's agent commission when it's not being offered on the MLS, or if they're offering nothing on the MLS, which was always an option, or if they're offering something like $500, well, that's not even going to cover my expenses for doing showings for 6 months or whatever it was. And so that is going to go away. That MLS offer of cooperative compensation is going to go away. So that is going to make us do that scenario theoretically that I was just talking about basically anytime we're making an offer, we're going to say, hey, here's what I'm requesting as a buyer's agent. Here's how it's paid. That's sort of going to be part of the offer. We think the other thing too is functionally, this could work a bunch of different ways. I don't know how it's going to work yet, but the question a lot of people are asking are, because it didn't always have to be this way either before, what if the seller's not paying the buyer's agent commission? Because like I said, there have been plenty of circumstances in the past where a seller's not offering it. And the buyer's agent may say, okay, well, I'll negotiate for it. And the seller might say no. That was always part of the deal. And that could be part of the deal now. How often will it happen? I don't know. Some people are projecting, oh, buyers are going to have to pay their own buyer's agent commission now. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe. We'll see how this shakes out. It's probably going to be a combination of the two. And I would guess that it's probably most often still going to be paid by the seller, because the seller is the one making money theoretically on this purchase. And it's not... People wonder about whether home prices will go up and down. Well, what if the buyer all of a sudden has to pay whatever it is, $15,000, and that's another expense that they have to pay on top of, say this is a standard, it's happening everywhere. The buyer has to pay that buyer's agent commission on top of everything they're already paying to buy the house. What's that going to do to home prices? Probably economics would dictate it means they'll go down to compensate for that extra money, that reduced buying power that the buyer has. That's why home prices go up and down. That's why when interest rates shot up, home prices dropped 10 to 12% in the Denver metro. It's not because nobody wanted homes. No, there was still a ton of demand, and there still is. It's a simplification, of course. But so right now, yes, the seller's paying it, but there's a way to look at it and say it's essentially baked into the price of the home, because no, they're not netting as much, but they're getting more for their house is one way to look at it. I don't know what we're going to have to do. I do know I'm the guy who just says, let me know how we're doing it and we'll do it that way. I do know that buyers agents are going to clearly have to get better at negotiating on their own behalf, not just for their buyers, but on their own behalf for their own commission. And that's going to make buyers agents have to be better. So that is, in my opinion, going to weed out some of the poor agents in this industry, which is something that's been long overdue. Low barrier of entry to get a real estate license. And there's a bar of professionalism that a lot of people meet and a lot of people don't. And if it's going to call the hurt a little bit and make you have to be better at your job, and if you're unwilling or unable to be better at your job, then you're not going to be able to do this job. That's probably okay. Quick anecdote, a few months ago, maybe 6 months ago at this point, I was getting a massage, and the massage therapist was telling me about all the hours of schooling and residency that she had to do to get her full massage therapist certification. And it was way more than I had to do to get my real estate license. And I remember having this realization of that doesn't make sense. And so that is part of the problem with this industry. It's been standards that there should be a standard of professionalism. And I think a lot of the agents in this industry, in this town, meet them. But not all of them do because of the low barrier for entry. And this may help that. One would assume it would. The other big change that's going to happen is the trade group, NAR, National Association of Realtors. So anybody you see that's a realtor, not just a real estate agent, is if they're using the term correctly, is a member of the National Association of Realtors. That's all that means. Will require agents or others working with homebuyers to enter into a written agreement with them. This is meant to ensure that homebuyers know going in what their agent will charge. So in addition to a listing agreement on the listing side, there will have to be an agency agreement on the buyer side, which in Colorado, we already have. And I've already had for every buyer I've worked with since I got into this industry. So for us, that's not a big change, but real estate varies a lot state by state. And so that isn't the case everywhere. So for us, that's not going to change too much. There were some instances, and even I've been guilty of it in the past, where I haven't had it as early as I should. We go show a few houses and we don't have it. It's fine. Now we're going to have that. And now it's going to have to say what the buyer's agent gets paid and who it gets paid by. And typically, again, in Colorado, there's already been a way that's been written out. Seller may pay, buyer is obligated to pay, buyer's not obligated to pay. There's a bunch of different ways, but that will be all spelled out in the agreement. So the buyer will know fully beforehand who's paying, what the situations are, if there's an opportunity for them to be on the hook to pay, all those sorts of things. That's going to be better in the long run. Like I said, in Colorado, we've done a pretty good job of that. A lot of states are going to be catching up now, and it'll probably even make us in Colorado better too. There are some quotes in here that are some folks chiming in about what this is going to do to the industry beyond those two changes. You've probably heard some of them. This one says, it may take some time for the changes to impact the marketplace, but our hope and expectation is this will put a downward pressure on the cost of hiring a real estate broker, says Robbie Braun, an attorney in a federal lawsuit brought in 2019 in Chicago. Robbie, I wonder if it'll put downward pressure on the cost of hiring an attorney. I'm guessing that's not your hope or expectation, but I digress. This is what a lot of people are saying. Will this make it cheaper to hire a real estate agent? Maybe. I don't know. Maybe. Will it put more onus and more financial burden on the buyer? Maybe, if they're having to cover all or some of these costs of hiring a real estate agent. And the buyer is always the one we've been talking about when we talk about the issues in the housing market right now with affordability, right? That's all on the buy side. There are major affordability issues in America and locally. And so if we're putting another fee on them, that doesn't help with that. So Robbie, I don't know if that makes it better or worse. I'm not sure. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. A lot of people think it's going to make it cheaper. Maybe it will, because people got to negotiate their fees more. I don't know. Fees have always been negotiable. That's the thing. That's the thing that nobody seems to bring up. Maybe some people, I'm sure there's people out there that weren't aware of that. Literally everybody I've come across since getting into this business has been aware of that on some level. Here's another attorney quote in our view: the combination of mandated buyer representation agreements and the prohibition of blanket compensation offers made by listing agents and sellers should result in significant price competition. Yes, competition is good. The question is, just because it's not offered on the MLS anymore as a blanket offer of compensation, and now the real estate agent is negotiating on their behalf, does that mean it'll go down? What if all the bad agents get out of the industry and it's only good agents? You're telling me they're going to make less? I don't know. I don't know if this is better for the consumer or not. I think it's going to be better for the industry long term. And I think some of these are reckonings that needed to happen. And some of them are just going to increase the level of professionalism. Is it going to save the consumer money in the long run? I don't know. Maybe not. What's interesting is this arrangement we're talking about is basically how commercial real estate has worked for a long time. And so it's not like it's something brand new. It's just, it's just, we're borrowing it from our cousin in the commercial world, which ironically, we have the same license as commercial brokers, residential and real estate brokers. It is so different. I mean, it is a dramatically different world in many, many ways. So CNN wrote their article on it, which was hilarious. They're basically lying to people, which is fine. President Biden made an incorrect claim, which is a very nice way of saying it about this very thing. He had a speech about this after all this came out. What he said was, this is Housing Wire quotes him here: on a typical home purchase, that alone, the changes alone could save folks an average of $10,000 on the sale of purchase. I don't know where he's getting those numbers from. And they didn't quote anything. So it's a nice round number to just throw out. He says, I'm calling on realtors to follow through on lower commissions to protect home buyers. He's hoping to protect home buyers. And this is a situation that will potentially shift more of the financial burden onto home buyers. And this comment here is laced with this other sort of idea that's out there that all of a sudden buyers agents are going to start working for free. Do you guys think that's going to happen? I don't think they're going to start working for free. I think somebody's going to pay it. And then there's the question of, okay, do they make too much? Maybe. There's a very kind of gross response by a lot of real estate agents, which comes, I think, from a good place, if I may say so. But when talking about these commissions and whether they should go down, and especially buyers agents, they'll respond a lot of the time by giving you this long list of all these things they do. Like, you guys have no idea. This is what I do for my clients. And most of them are true, but it sort of comes off desperate, like, appreciate me, look at everything I do. I don't want to do that. I would say that how we get paid and what we get paid is a bit confused, as we've seen here. These commissions, you can do some quick math on 2.8% or 2.5% or 3% or any of that on the sale of a home. The big thing is, especially when working with buyers, the vast majority of the work we do is not paid. We don't get paid till we close. If we close, it's not uncommon to work with a buyer for 6 months, 9 months, a year or more. And then either close a deal or not close a deal. That's happened to me plenty. And so when we do get paid, we get paid a lot, because we don't get paid for 99.9% of the stuff we do. It's just the way it works. It's what we signed up for. And then that a lot, there's this idea that check gets cut straight to us. No, unfortunately it doesn't. It gets cut to our brokerage, which typically there's a split between the brokerage and the agent for the services that the brokerage offers. We pay our marketing expenses off of that. For me, it's thousands of dollars. I got a listing going live 2 weeks where I'm probably $5,000 in so far, because that's the only way to sell a home properly in this market right now, in my opinion. It's not always $5,000, but in this one particularly, it is, just because I'm doing the things that need to be done to sell this home, to get the maximum number of eyeballs on the home and to get the seller the highest sale price, which is my fiduciary duty, as I said before. And so all that marketing, that comes straight out of what I make. And then of course I pay splits with the brokerage, insurance, day-to-day expenses, taxes, all that stuff. It's not a bad gig. People complain. I'm not doing that. I'm just saying, there's confusion about how much we make and how we make it and all those things too. And so President Biden is confused, which you may have heard before. Moving on. So, and then the NAR, the National Association of Realtors, they put out this response to this. The truth about the NAR settlement agreement. This was their attempt at, debunking a lot of these things that come out. This, like most things they do, was weak and kind of sucked. They make a lot of money. We pay them a lot of money to put out articles like this, which it dispelled some of these things that are out there. But I mean, look at this. It's a blog post. Who's looking at this? They probably made some crappy video about it too that nobody saw. Part of your job as an advocacy group is to correct the narrative when it's wrong. I guess this is their way of doing it. I'm not even going to read through it. You can see, you can kind of, you can hear my thoughts on what they've done for the industry. That's the big stuff. Any other questions about anything, about any of this, or anything more fun about the dispatch, restaurants, home prices? We can go back to that and we could talk about what's coming up. Tech Adventure, if you're still on, brother. I think it's, I don't know if you saw this chart here, but this is kind of showing the seasonal trend, what's going on here. And this is where we're at right now in terms of inventory. That's going to come back up this high or higher probably this year. So there's going to be more inventory in starting in July, really starting in late May, it's coming up, but then through through Thanksgiving, when at that point it's going to come down. A lot of people will take their homes off the market. A lot of people don't want homes on the market for holidays, even if they've been sitting there. So that is, I feel like these lights, I feel like I made them too cool. I got to adjust them and make them warm again. That's essentially what is going to happen with that. I can put myself down there. Yeah, there'll be good opportunities for buyers over here. Even though we're seeing higher inventory, that doesn't mean, like I said before, there's more homes on the market. That just means there's more homes sitting on the market. The highest number of new listings is always going to be in the spring. So if I were you, I'd start looking now or within the next few weeks, and really don't miss May, June. If you don't find what you want, then there's going to be opportunities later. But if you do find what you want, this is going to be there's a good chance this is going to be the time where that happens. Another question. Mike, what's up, man? For me, this case has always been a big nothing burger. All it does is say a seller cannot be required to pay the fee, but as you've said, someone has to pay. That means buyers will have less money. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that is a very real possibility of how this could happen. And so, I don't know. There could be a number of the money's going to have to come from somewhere. Again, will agents start working for free? No. Will some agents get out of the industry because that's their only option, is work for free or get out of the industry? Yeah. So it's more important than ever as an agent to sharpen your skills and be very clear and very confident in your value proposition, whether it's on the buy side or the sell side, which again is going to make us better, hopefully, as a whole, as an industry. That's my hope. That's the good that can come out of this. Yeah, guys, that's it. Thanks for logging on a Monday. I know this was kind of odd. I want to do them on Monday afternoons, but I couldn't this Monday afternoon, and I'm still getting back in the swing of lives here. So if you have anything, other questions, comments, rebuttals, after this ends too, just hit me up. My information should be all over the place. My phone number, my email. I love it when people from YouTube reach out, man. It's the best. It's become really the bedrock of my business, kind of the backbone of it. It's great because it ends up being like-minded individuals or individuals who connect with whatever's happening here. And that's awesome. It always, not always, but almost always ends up being a great situation. So that is the thing, as real estate agents, we're here to help. I mean, I made this channel to, yes, number one, to do something for myself, but in a way of contribution. That's what I try to do is come from contribution in this industry and with this channel. So we're going to try to keep doing that. Get ready for the dispatches. 4 new dispatches we're shooting. It takes me forever to record or to edit those. So it'll be a while, but I also have one of the other reasons is I also have we're shooting 2 new listings, 2 new home tours this week, and they're going to be awesome. We're taking it to the next level. We're doing a really cool condo in the South Denver building called the Chateau, mountain views, everything, super awesome kitchen, Sub-Zero, Miele built-in coffee maker. I could go on. And then sweet listing in Evergreen, great views. Everybody in the foothills wants views. You don't get them a lot of the time. There's like $1 million houses, multi-million-dollar houses where you get like a sliver of a view. Maybe maybe not even. This one, great views, awesome deck, not a multi-million-dollar house, right around $1 million. But we're shooting that tomorrow. And then we're shooting the other one Thursday, and I will have those up as soon as I can. And yeah, that's a labor of love for me, that and the dispatch, but love when people chime in on it. So, and as I always like to say, whatever you want to see otherwise on this channel, do let me know. Let me know what you want to see more of. Let me know. Yeah. Let me know like what you enjoy, what I'm not covering that you want to see, because I'm always, I'm not done here. We are far from done. I'm always looking for ideas, and really, like I said, what people want to see. If I'm making something that no one's interested in, that's a waste of my time and your time. Oh, thank you, Rowan. Yeah. Love it, brother. Hey, yeah, I think you're going to like it. All right, gang. It's been a pleasure. Go enjoy your lunch or whatever else you got going on Monday. Don't work too hard. See ya.